Viimeistä viedään. Ihan käsittämätöntä. 2 päivää on melkein tullut päätöksensä todella nopeasti, vaikka onkin ollut laaja kirjo erinäisiä puhujia ja paljon uutta oppia, paljon inspiraatiota. Mutta eletään vielä hetkessä, nautitaan päivän viimeisestä puheesta.
Me saadaan tänne Stagelle intohimoinen, vastuullisen ja eettisen vaatetuotannon puolesta puhuja. Hän on Pukhraj Ranjan, helsinkiläisen Moi Namaste-nimisen vaatemerkin perustaja. Ja Pukhrajilla on paljon asiaa, hänellä on myös muutama vieras täällä virtuaalisesti läsnä tällä Stagella. Saadaan vähän osaamista ja kuulumisia Intiasta ja taisi olla Amsterdamista toi toinen tyyppi, jonka kuulumiset saadaan Stagelle.
Ihan mahtavaa. Mä oon ottanut tätä puheenvuoroa justiinsa aikaisemmin. Ollaan puhuttu siitä, että mitä sitten kestävä kehitys vaatii, mitä kestävä kulutus, jos semmoista edes voidaan sanoa, on olemassa. Niin muoti on yksi suuri aiheuttaja, päästöjen aiheuttaja, niin mielenkiinnolla kuulen, että miten sitten tällä alalla on päädytty luomaan uudenlaisia ratkaisuja. Ja pikemmittä puheitta, we'll welcome the next speaker on the stage.
Pukhraj, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Pukhraj Ranjan. I'm the founder of Moi Namaste. We're a sustainable and ethical fashion brand based out of Finland and India. Over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to work with craftspeople, designers, as well as artisans from India. And I have to say, I've fallen in love with the fashion industry. I think it's cool, it's creative. And yet I am here today to talk about how it is inherently broken. Infamous for environmental degradation, climate change, human rights violations, the fashion industry is plagued with problems. And yes, sustainability is a topic of conversation around the world, but I believe that within the global north, the conversation is often restricted to conversations around circularity, climate change, and environmental protection. They are an extremely critical component of this entire puzzle piece, but we cannot forget the most important, which is the people. I believe we cannot safeguard the prosperity of the planet without safeguarding the prosperity of the people. And if you're wondering why I care so much about this topic, it's because when you look up garment workers, this is what you see. People who look like me, my family, my friends, and without even knowing them, I'm connected to all of them. And as an Indian brand owner working with Indian artisans, I believe it is my responsibility to put forth my voice on behalf of a community that is often not invited to stages like these and don't often get to share their perspective on the future. So let me start by sharing a real-life story that changed my relationship with fashion and my relationship with my clothes. For this, I have to take you to Bangladesh, to a small region called Savar, right outside Dhaka, the country's capital. 80% of Bangladesh's export earnings comes from the garment industry, which means thousands and thousands of men and women have moved to this neighborhood in search of jobs, better life, better pay. In one of these buildings, an 8-story building, there are shops, a bank, and a garment factory. On 23rd April 2013, large structural cracks were found in this particular building, making it unsafe to use. The banks and the shops were immediately closed and people were asked to evacuate. But the garment factory owners decided to ignore these warnings and ordered all their garment workers to come back to work the very next day. On 24th April 2013, work did start in this cracked Rana Plaza building, but soon enough, the building collapsed. taking with it the life of 1,138 garment workers and injuring over 2,500 people, many for the rest of their lives. What is appalling to me are pictures like these. Family members trying to find their loved ones in the building's rubble. As a brand owner myself, I can't fathom the pain and the suffering or even the shame I would feel if I was responsible for the life of even one of my garment makers. And yet, global brands like Benetton from Italy, Primark from UK, Mango from Spain, who worked in Rana Plaza, tried to wash off their responsibilities and didn't really do anything for the makers for a really long time. And so, this is just one example of the many challenges within the fashion industry. And today's program, we are talking about how can we rewrite a fresh narrative. And I believe the best way to do that is by learning from people who are already fighting the status quo and changing the way we work within the fashion industry. And for that, first thing is, let's deep dive into the challenges. And I call them the 3 C's: the conditions, composition, and consumption. I will elaborate on what I mean for each of those 3. From stories of child labor on cotton farms to forced labor, human trafficking, sexual exploitation in the garment factories, to during the pandemic, canceled orders, mass dismissals, union busting, the conditions in which the garment workers around the world are expected to work is extremely appalling and exploitative. And the exploitation doesn't end there. The fashion industry is considered the 2nd largest, most polluting industry in the world after the oil industry. And as per Ellen MacArthur Foundation, 342 billion barrels of oil are used annually to create plastic-based textiles, which now make a majority of our clothing. When we produce these, dye them, use them, we are also shedding millions of microfibers and microplastics in our waterways, spoiling our nature's ecosystem, as well as the health of our workers and wearers. And all of this is happening because of this new need to have more and more and more. The culture of consumption, especially relying on the culture of disposability, is something new and very attractive in the fashion industry. Shein, a Chinese ultra fast fashion online retailer, is set to churn out 300,000 new styles daily on their American website. My question is, why do we need so many clothes? Especially, why do we need to produce 100 billion garments annually for a planet of 7 billion people? And so, what can we do? In this really sticky, challenging industry, I believe we learn from who are already doing the best. In today's program, I have the opportunity to share the perspective of these 2 wonderful women, one from a maker organization and another a brand herself. And I believe this is important because the fashion industry cannot be fixed without everybody coming together. Be it our designers, be it our makers, be it consumers, it requires collective action and collective commitment. So let's dive right in. The first guest is from my home country, India. India is a country where 200 million people depend on craft for livelihoods. And Padmini Govind is a change maker supporting the artisan economy within India. She runs Tharangini Studios out of Bangalore, which was established in 1977 by her mother. A sustainable and ethical artisan studio, it is said to have the country's largest collection of block prints. But what is more attractive to me is the studio's commitment to transparency, to ethics, and sustainability. And this is important to me because often leadership is what fails within the fashion industry as well as the artisan economy. If you take the example of Rana Plaza, if the garment factory owners would have decided to stop production, to take care of their employees before profits, maybe we wouldn't have lost the lives of so many artisans. And yes, I understand this is a naive comparison, but I truly believe leadership counts. So let's go to India and hear from Padmini.
Hello World Village Festival, I'm Padmini Govind and you're here in Tharangini Studio. So our studio was founded in 1977 by my mother. She was really an artist and exploring these crafts in Delhi when she fell in love with block printing and decided to start a studio in South India. We're in Bangalore. From the beginning, Mum has always been insistent on using organic dyes, sustainable practices, being low waste. So our artisans are the center of our universe. And even before this became trending on Instagram, we were always a sustainable studio. Now, people ask us what is the meaning of the name Tharangini. Well, this beautiful estate is what my granddad got in the 1950s, and the whole estate is called Taranga. Taranga means waves in Sanskrit because we are next to a lake, and Gini is parrot. So in the evening, you see all of these small parrots that are flying around. So Mom has always been very inspired by nature, and that's something that continues to be part of us today, as you can see in the surrounding studio. The team, we are really blessed to have a team of artisans that have been with us for many decades. Govindana, one of our master printers, has been with us for 4 decades, and he's practically grown up with the artisan family in Tharangini, as has Banu, who's one of our lead color mixers. They are experts in natural dye, they're experts in block printing, and it's our goal to not only sustain the handcraft through their expertise, but also to inspire future generations to take up this skill. We are the last heritage studio, textile studio left in Bangalore, which is now more of a tech and a corporate city. We have adopted 4 autism community centers in the city, where we have upskilled specially abled artisans and many women leaders in these centers. And we hope that the future of block printing lies with them. As we work with other brands, we always encourage the brands that we work with to work with the community centers as well. One of the aims of this festival is, of course, to encourage conscious consumerism. I feel that with the internet and digital media these days, people can be a lot more educated about the choices they make when they buy something, whether it is food or fashion or home textiles. The advantage is that you get to know who is behind the product that you see in a store shelf, or what materials they were using, what has been used in the supply chain as well. And I think that people should really leverage and make use of that information before making a conscious purchase online or offline. So thank you again for having me.
So as Padmini said, conscious consumption isn't something that is really hard to do in today's day and age of media, internet, and storytelling. But of course, I also believe that conscious leadership isn't something that is that hard anymore, especially as brand owners. Around the world, global brands work with artisans in communities, marginalized communities, from India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, across Africa, but often don't try to create deep and authentic relationships. And so my next speaker and the next example is of a brand that does it beautifully. It's an Amsterdam-based label called Zazi Vintage that works with artisanal projects around the world that benefit women artisans. They also use natural textiles in order to reconnect consumers back to the land. The brand is committed to inspiring consumers to find their relationship with the makers, with Mother Earth, and with our wardrobe in general. And so our next speaker is Jeanne De Kroon, who's the founder of Zazi Vintage. She is a social and environmental activist in the sustainability movement, and she also works with the United Nations and various global brands to rewrite the narrative that is needed in this current day and age. What I love about Jeanne is the softness with which she leads her life and her brand, and the global sisterhood she's able to create. And I do hope that this becomes the example of brands that we want to see when we think about the future of fashion.
Hello, Helsinki and World Village Festival. It's such an honor to be here or to be a part of this incredible panel today. My name is Jeanne De Kroon. I'm based in Amsterdam and I have a brand called Zazi. We work together with incredible women's organizations in collaboration with the United Nations Ethical Fashion Initiative and the most incredible women storytellers from the Global South, and form this sort of interwoven global sisterhood. I think, what I really mostly want to give or contribute today to the conversation is to really look at sustainable fashion not as something that you can buy or that's something like a quick fix, to change something into a circular textile, but really completely take this as an opportunity to redefine our perception and our connection to the stories behind the clothing that we wear, the hands that, created and like stitched all the little threads together, that the mothers that breastfeed their babies on the same day that they bring your dress into existence, and the craft that they have safeguarded through their ancestral practices. There's so much enchantment that comes with learning more about the stories behind our clothing, and I hope that this connection can really bring us back to valuing the garment, the maker, and the nature.
So as Jeanne said, the story of the fabric, the story of the maker, and us, the consumers, our clothing has the power to connect us all. And when I decided to start my own fashion brand called Maailma, it was important for me to remember the learnings from changemakers like Padmini and Jeanne. And through that, we decided to make a commitment to be both people and planet positive. What that means is that care is at the center of what we do. Care for the planet, from where we extract resources, care for the people who make our clothing, care for the future of this planet, especially for the youth to come, and for being active and passionate citizens. In practice, that means we do not create any new fabrics. We work with vintage materials, like vintage Indian saris, blankets, bed covers to make our clothing. We also employ craftspeople, traditional craftspeople, in order to support the craft communities of India. And finally, all the products are stitched and made in partnership with women organizations, women groups, and ethical businesses supporting women. And one such group is Mahashakti Seva Kendra, based out of Bhopal in central India. The center was established in 1992 after the infamous Bhopal gas leak, which is considered the second largest industrial disaster in the world after Chernobyl. The center was established to provide employment opportunities and safe training opportunities for women. Amuda, one of the women who is part of this center, is an incredible lady I've had the opportunity to meet. We love her so much that we have actually named our pouches after her. And today, I want to show and share her story because I believe that we cannot be talking about being people positive in the fashion industry without hearing what can happen if we commit to their growth and development. Over this video, I hope you get a chance to see not just her daily life, but be able to make comparisons and think about what her life looks like versus what a garment maker in an exploitative condition looks like.
नाम अमुदा है। मेरे घर पे 4 लोग हैं, मैं, मेरे मिस्टर, 2 बेटियां। ऐसे ही पसंद करके मेरे को शादी करके लेके आए भोपाल। फिर मेरे सास ससुर 1 महीने के अंदर ख़त्म हो गए। मेरे ससुर पहला ख़त्म हो गए थे, मेरे सास मेरे बाद में ख़त्म हो गए। फिर मेरे को इतना दुख हुआ था, मैं अकेले हो गई थी। इतना दवाई खाते थे, सर दर्द हो रहे थे। बच्चे छोटे छोटे बच्चे थे, क्या कर रहे हैं अपन, कुछ तो कर रहे हैं अपन, बाहर निकले। इसकी वजह से मेरे को और मेरे मिस्टर को थोड़ा बहुत चिक चिक होते रहते थे। मेरे को कहीं नहीं लेके जा रहे हो, मैं अकेली हूँ घर पे, मेरे को बहुत दुख हो रहा है, मैं क्या करूँ क्या करूँ। फिर मेरी पड़ोस में फ्रेंड है, वो आती थी सेंटर महाशक्ति सेवा में, वो आते थे। फिर मैं उससे पूछ के फिर मैं सेंटर आना स्टार्ट। सुबह 6 बजे उठते, चाय पीने के बाद लंच बनाते हैं बच्चों के लिए। फिर बच्चों को देती दूध गर्म करके, फिर लंच बनाते हैं। स्कूल 8 बजे जाना है बच्चों लोग के स्कूल। लोग जाने के बाद फिर झाड़ू लगाते, पोछा लगाते, फिर बर्तन मांजते, नहा धो के फिर निकल जाते सेंटर। बहुत अच्छे शुरू होते हैं। आते से ऐसे काम मिल जाए बस करते जाएंगे हम लोग। काम नहीं है तो बस एंजॉय करेंगे हम लोग। कभी उसको मारना, कभी इसको वो करना अच्छे लगते हैं मुझे। पकड़म पकड़ी भी खेलते हैं, कभी कभी क्रिकेट भी खेलते हैं, कबड्डी खेल देते हैं, सब एंजॉय करके हम लोग काम करते हैं। बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं मुझे तो। हम तो ये नहीं सकते, हम तो डर डर के तो काम नहीं करते। इसके में बहुत ही मदद मिली हम लोग को। मैं आने के बाद जूट बैग बनाए मैंने, चादर बनाए, टेबल टेंडर बनाए, बहुत सारा चीज़ें सीखने के मिले मेरे को। बहुत अच्छी एंजॉय करते हैं हम लोग, हर त्यौहार एंजॉय करते हैं, सेलिब्रेट करते हैं। अच्छा इसके में बहुत ही मदद मिली हम लोग को। मैं आने के बाद थोड़ा बहुत मैं भी कमा रही हूँ। अभी मेरे बैंक में भी थोड़ा बहुत पैसे रह जाते हैं। अभी अर्जेंट मेरे मिस्टर भले कितने भी कमा ले, मगर अर्जेंट में मेरी पैसे उनका काम आते हैं। वो उनका बहुत उनके दोस्तों सभी बोल रहे हैं, मेरी बीबी बहुत एंड टाइम में बहुत मदद करते हैं मेरे लिए। थोड़ा अच्छा लगता है सुनते अभी मुझे।
Can you hear me? What I love about this video is the pride that Amuda feels now that she can support her husband financially. And let me tell you, this is not a story of an average garment worker who works 12 to 15 hours a day. It is said that a major fashion CEO can make in 4 days what a female garment worker in Bangladesh would make in her entire lifetime. And I find that extremely crazy. Crazy that when we see a garment in our favorite fashion store, we don't think about the people anymore. We don't think about the fact that that piece of clothing most probably was made thousands of kilometers away, but we expect it to be a price of a kahvi and pulla. And my intention behind sharing the story of Amuda was so that next time you look at your favorite piece of clothing, you think about who the Amuda was and whose hands touched your clothing. And I also want to talk about us. What does conscious consumers mean? After the Rana Plaza incident, the sustainability discussion within the fashion industry grew massive. And if you were engaged in it in any sort of form, you've heard of the fashion revolution. Billions of people around the world started asking questions like, who made my clothes? What's in my clothes? Who made my fabric? And the fashion industry was forced to respond. Manufacturers around the world started to make their working environments safer. They started to ensure that their artisans were being seen and heard. Designers and brands started to think about their social and environmental impact. And of course, us, the consumers, we started to think twice before we buy. And I'm sharing this because I want to reiterate that change within the fashion industry is actually within our control. Money is power in the fashion industry, and we are the ones spending our money. So we have the opportunity to change the narrative. And as I come to the near end of the program, I want to share certain solutions that I think you and I can accommodate in our daily lives, which will only make the impact within the fashion industry net positive. And these solutions are connected to the 3 challenges that I shared in the beginning of the program, which revolved around the conditions of our makers, the composition of our clothing, and the consumption patterns that we now engage with. So let's start. I think it is high time that we recognize that there are real people behind our clothing. And yes, I know that maybe not all of you want to stand in front of a fast fashion brand with a banner, "Who made my clothes?" If you do, we can talk later. But the easiest thing to do is to support brands that already answer those questions for you without you even asking. Brands that are transparent, that are ethical, that celebrate their makers, that have a suppliers list on their website, and even better, show some sort of price transparency for each garment they sell. And I have to be honest, the more and more designers in today's current day and age are fighting and advocating for maker rights. So to find something of your liking wouldn't be anymore as hard as we imagine. Then, of course, we talk about the composition of our clothing. It is important we rethink what kind of fabrics we want to put on our skin. And obviously, I would say stay away from plastic-based textiles or blends. If possible, pick natural fabrics that are breathable, kinder to the planet, and also easily recyclable. Circularity, right? And of course, if you love that polyester dress from your favorite thrift store, I would say read the labels. Understand the materials that make your clothing. Understand how we can better take care of them, especially wash them, and then use it till the end of its life. And if you're doing just these 2 things, we're already consuming mindfully. Because 10 years down the line, there'll still be fast fashion brands, there'll still be sustainable fashion brands, and the luxury fashion brands. But we are at a critical juncture in our planet's health that we need to rethink how we engage with fashion. And an easy tip is that maybe don't buy a piece of clothing if you don't see yourself wearing it at least 100 times. As a former educator, I believe that education is power. And over the last 25-30 minutes, we have had the opportunity to educate ourselves on the impact of fashion on the planet. We have looked through the big challenges within the fashion industry. We heard from changemakers who are changing the way we work and fighting the status quo. We also heard from an artisan and noticed what can happen if we truly care. And finally, we explored some solutions that you and I can accommodate in our daily lives. So on behalf of Amuda, Padmini, Jeanne, and I just have one more thing to say. Fashion is a force. Let's make it a good one. Thank you.
Hello, hello, and let's give one more round of applause to our last speaker of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Muutaman 2 päivän aikana me ollaan kuultu paljon hienoja esimerkkejä mahtavilta puhujilta, jotka tekee töitä ruohonjuuren tasolla kehittääkseen kestävämpää tulevaisuutta meille kaikille. Mutta mikä muutti mun käsityksen sit rohkeudesta oli Brené Brown. Mä koen, että ihmisinä meidän pitää olla rohkeampia kohtaamaan haavoittuvaisuus, olla haavoittuvaisempia. Ja tällä mä tarkoitan sitä, että me hyväksytään elämä kokonaisuudessaan, kokonaisena kirjona. Me ollaan turrutettu liian pitkään erinäisiä tunteita, vihaa, surua, pelkoa. Ja näin me ollaan käännetty katseemme niille ikäville asioille, mitä meidän ympärillä tapahtuu. Mutta tulevaisuudessa meidän on hyväksyttävä se, että meidän tulevaisuus on kyseenalainen tällä hetkellä. Meidän on oltava rohkeampia, tehtävä päätöksiä, tehtävä parempia valintoja, ottaa toisemme huomioon. Ja se vaatii sitä, että me pystytään katsoa itseemme suoraan silmiin, katsoa sisäänpäin ja nähdä, että mitä meidän tulee muuttaa. Ja mä toivon, että jokainen pystyy ottaa jotakin irti näistä parista päivästä ja lähteä luomaan parempia ratkaisuja, koska haavoittuvaisuudesta löytyy myös luovuus ja yhteys muihin ihmisiin.
Tosi hieno loppuspiikki.
Voisin vielä tässä jonkin aikaa puhua, mutta mä ajattelin, että kuitenkin sunnuntai-iltapäivä. Mutta ehkä mitä mä haluaisin jättää tästä näin on se, että kohdataan toinen toisemme ihmisinä, koska me ollaan kuitenkin yksi olio tällä planeetalla. Ja me ollaan se syy, missä pisteessä me nytten ollaan. Joten kannetaan vastuumme. Ja jos haluatte tosiaan palata näihin puheisiin, mitä ollaan käyty eilen ja tänään läpi, ne löytyy vielä 2 viikon ajan Maailma Kylässä festarin YouTube-kanavilta.
Festivaali loppuu tältä osin täältä, eli siis Suvilahden tiivistämön lavalta. Mutta tuossa naapurissa musa jatkuu ja musa jatkuu myös tuolla alla Seapoolilla. Sinne ei tosiaan maksa mitään. Siellä on ilmeisesti ollut käsittääkseni aika täyttä tänään, mutta varmasti vielä mahtuu mukaan, jos tosi kovasti yrittää. Sen lisäksi on tietysti vielä päätösklubi 9 eteenpäin tuolla Maksinessa, eli Kampin 6. kerroksessa. Sinne on liput 8 €, mutta muuten siis festivaalin tietysti täysin maksuton. Mutta päätösklubi on tietysti klassinen tapa lopettaa festari.
Ja mä haluan kiittää tässä kohtaa myös järjestäjätahoja, että he on koonnut mahtavan porukan kasaan käsittelemään ajankohtaisia aiheita. Ja on ollut hienoa myös itse päästä oppimaan. Ja niin kuin mä eilen kanssa sanoin, mä ootan innolla, että mä pystyn ottaa sen ajan oikeasti käsittelemään näitä asioita. Me ollaan käyty asioita aika rationaalisella tasolla, nopeeseen tahtiin muutaman päivän ajan. Mutta joskus mä luin jonkun hyvän jutun, että me tahdotaan useasti nähdä ihmiset ajattelevina olijoina, mutta ennen kaikkea me ollaan tuntevia olioita. Joten ennen kaikkea käsitelkää sitä, mitä ikinä kropassanne oottekaan käynyt läpi, jotta me pystytään sitten liikkua eteenpäin. Ja pyritään siihen, että me ei koskaan tulla ymmärtämään välttämättä toisten ihmisten kokemuksia. Me ei pystytä laittaa itsemme täysin toisten ihmisten kenkiin, mutta mitä me voidaan tehdä, on pyrkiä ymmärtämään se niiden kenkien matka, missä joku on kulkenut. Mutta
hei,
tällä erää.
Tähän kohtaan yhdelle tuntevalle oliolle haluaisin antaa kiitokset. Ja se on nimittäin siis Naomi Holopainen, joka on ollut mun kanssa juontamassa tätä festaria koko tänään. Joten kiitokset kuuluu hänelle.
Ja kiitos Anna. Kiitos. Ja kiitos kaikille, ketkä on täällä tänään ollut läsnä ja eilen. Ja kiitos seurannut livestreamin kautta. Jatkakaa keskustelua, koska maailmaa ei muuteta päivässä eikä parissa. Kiitos.